Hi there, this is Evelyn again. I just want to share a really quick story with you about a young coach that I once trained in her coaching. Once upon a time, a long time ago, actually it wasn't that long ago, there was a young man, and perhaps you can relate to this story. So this student of mine that I mentioned, she was actually learning how to become a coach. She was training with me, and she was telling me about a young man that she was coaching. Now, she said that the issue is you're holding yourself back. So disassociate, look at it on the big screen, and what is it that you would like to do? And I believe that he said, I'd like to really get myself into it. So this young coach woman, she became very special to me. We're still in touch even today. She trained with me quite some time ago. And this is a story that she shared with me, and I'd like to share it with you now. So this young man, he came to her and he said, I've learned something about myself. And the coach said, well, what is it you've learned? And the young man said, she said he seemed very, very articulate, as you are. And he shared this really interesting story with her. When he was younger, he said he had been really hurt by those who loved him most, mostly his family and friends. And through being hurt like that, he started to pull back, and to withdraw. And he didn't like that about himself. So he didn't really get it. And he was holding back. He was only about 11, I believe, at the time. And he said he was holding himself back a lot. He was just looking back, observing. And he started to notice that it was affecting the other areas in his life as well. He started to generalize things, and it was affecting so many other areas of his life at school and the things that he enjoyed most. And the coach said, well, what did you do? Because he was really curious to know. Now, he said he overcame that because knowing this is a very smart and articulate young man, he said, well, I didn't for a while. And when I realized it, it was just that by having the problem, I got to hold myself back and play it safe. Pretty cluey for a young man at that time. And he got to hold himself back and keep himself safe and not to have to explore anything new, stay within his comfort zone. But after a while, he got tired of that and realized he was going to have to change something because he wanted so much more out of life. And the turning point came, he said, around about 3 months later. He was sharing this story. He said, the turning point came when I realized that I was a role model for those around me, for my community, for my friends, and my extended family. He came from a large family, and he was a leader in his school. And when he applied himself, he was also a leader in the sports area also. And he was in some kind of club. I can't remember exactly what the club was, but he realized, he said, that he was seen as a leader, a group leader in several situations. And by me choosing to stay back and hold myself back, then it was setting an example, not the kind of example I wanted to set. So I knew it was so not who I really wanted to be. It so is not who I really was. And it was having an effect on those that were younger than him. And the coach said, well, what did you do about it? And he said, well, the most courageous thing I could do was just to jump in and do it. But I kind of had to just think about it for a bit and think about how I was going to do this, because I had been hurt by those I loved most. And what I realized I need to do is acknowledge their intention was always good. They had always had a really good intentions for me and my future. I mean, it was always to serve me and to help me be the best I could be. Maybe School of Hard Knocks, but that was their intention. I totally understood it. And the meaning I had given was something else. in that moment, when I realized that their intention was good, I realized I had the same intention for myself, to be the very best that I could be and to do good. When I realized that, everything changed. Everything changed because in that moment, I put down a whole load that I'd been carrying around, telling myself, and I started playing to my full potential once again. And the great thing about that is this young man shared with his coach was that through becoming that, making the decision, the leader he became impacted immensely on a young boy who was in this group. He wasn't aware of it initially. I believe the group was for troubled youth. And this boy who was actually feeling so low, he was going to disassociate from the larger group in a far more stronger way. He was thinking he'd check out. So I hope you know what I mean there. And this young boy had been watching this young man and saw him step up and play at 100% once more. And it took several months. In fact, it was closer to a year, I think, before this really young kid, he was about 9 at the time, finally came up and he said to this young man, I'd been thinking of killing myself. And when I saw you play with courage in that moment, giving that speech, when I saw that and what you said inspired me so much that I realized that I did have something to give. And that inspiration just changed everything for this really young boy. It was a pretty amazing story to tell. So the ripple effect that he could have on someone so young and didn't even realize that he was doing it. And I thanked her so much for sharing the story with me and really love that I decided to share the story with you. So how are you feeling? How do you know that things have changed for you? What I want you to take from this is choose your thoughts and your actions wisely, because you never know who's watching.